let's bring it back home for one moment. You mentioned sea level rise and building levees around the bay. I mean, do you think that really the Bay Area is going to have to build levees around the entire area of the bay, or some communities will be saved and some will not?
I don't know how you take a vote to say we're going to abandon this community. You know, we're going to move out and let it. You know, the reality is you can afford to build levees, and you know, as much as
who can afford to build levees?
Well, that becomes an issue. But you know,
our state
Holland,
government is so
Denmark
broke.
is a good example of that. You can actually make them work. We had some failures in New Orleans, and so we've got to be a lot smarter about how we do it. But it's technically feasible, and it's probably necessary. As I say, you look at the inundation maps, and it's over 200,000 acres. It's $62 billion worth of development that will be impacted if we don't do something.
Wow. And then
so that's another economic burden. Once again, I believe that we need to take, we're lucky enough to have the need for development. We're not Detroit, where you know people are just moving out and there's no development to help pay for the infrastructure. There's a great tradition, and my developer friends hate it when I go here, but you know, a lot of those streetcar suburbs, the streetcars were paid for by the developers. And Brooklyn is a great example. The developers of Brooklyn paid for the streetcars that went over because it enhanced the value, it connected and made that neighborhood worthwhile. So I think development can help pay for a lot of the stuff we need, the levees, the transit extensions, flood control projects, parks, open space, schools. Those are all things that development can pay for.
Certainly seen that in San Francisco.
No, wait a minute. Help pay for.
Help pay for. We certainly saw that in San Francisco, the 3rd Street rail line. I remember that going in, and all of a sudden buildings just blossoming along that rail line before it was even finished.
We have the sense that the public ought to invest in a piece of infrastructure that enhances property values without capturing some of that enhancement back. Now, of course, the much maligned redevelopment agencies their financing is all based on this notion that if the public sector invests something, then we ought to be able to capture the value and use it to pay for those investments.